As the wind rustles through the marula trees and the sun comes through the clouds, leaving us in dappled shade, I tell you that this is Safari Live. Firstly, a huge apology for our late arrival. I'm afraid the stream went down. That to technical people means something. To me and to probably you, it just means that we were unable to broadcast. So a big apology for that. Then secondly, the soporific start to the drive, of course, borne by the fact that it is probably about 39 degrees here, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but there is mercifully a wind blowing and you can hear it rustling through the leaves right now. My name is James Hendry. On camera today we've got VM Doornbraak, as we had this morning, the same. We did find the lions at 3:30. They were more asleep than, well, most corpses I've seen, so we left them and we've come looking for other things. We'll probably go back to them if and when it cools slightly later on. Byron Sarau is on the other vehicle and he's being filmed by David. David, of course, has got a lot of hair, and so I think he's probably feeling the heat a lot more than we are. In the final control, Louise Pavid and Kirsten Mac-Smith. Now, please do talk to us. Do drive, hashtag Safari Live, or questions at wildearth.tv as I put myself into a driving position. We're going to drive along here and see what we can find. We have found no tracks, and in the sky, as VM was showing you, there is a great amount of cloud. That cloud is, well, very much like, as VM and I were discussing, and as I've said to you before, the politicians of the world, promising a great deal, delivering absolutely nothing but hot air. Now, we will be, of course, going live until 6:30 this evening. Is that correct? Yes, 6:30 this evening. And remember, there's a time change from the 1st of November. Everything will shift to 1 hour later in the afternoon and 1.5 hour later in the afternoon and 1.5 hour earlier in the morning. And so it will be 5 to 8 in the morning Central African time and 4 to 7, sorry, I thought I saw something, but it's a log, 4 to 7 in the evening Central African time, and wherever you are in the world, you can tell us, or you can work out what that is for you. It's far too confusing for me to do when my brain is quietly boiling within my head. Now, as VM was pointing out to me, there's a huge amount of standing water, so we're going to be going from bits of standing water to bits of standing water to see what we can find on this hot afternoon. Byron, of course, fast out of the blocks. He's managed to find something already.
We have indeed found something. Look at this, everyone. Some elephant drinking out of a little mud wallow or little pool from all the rain that we've had. This is amazing. There's a lot of water elsewhere, but we could be in for some luck. This elephant could possibly splash themselves with the mud and have a nice mud bath. That would be fantastic. And as James, I'm sure, has told you, it's been very, very hot today. So it's nice for us to check these water holes. And good afternoon, everybody. My name's Byron, and on camera with me this afternoon is Dave. And we struck out. We got lucky here, finding these elephants, just wandering through, and we got here just as they came to this mud wallow. And as I said, they probably might splash some mud on themselves. And the reason for that is just to cool themselves down. If we're not careful, we might get sprayed a little bit. I don't think I'd mind too much. If it cools us down, that'd be wonderful. It has been a hot day, as we were saying, so a lot of the animals all in the shade and taking shelter from the blistering sun. Oh yes, there we go. That is really, really beautiful. It's just so great to sit and watch elephant like this. There's quite a few around here. We saw some lions this morning. We saw the Nkuhuma pride. I know James went to go see if he could find them again. He did, but they were obviously really flat and down in the shade in the drainage line. they won't be coming out or moving anytime soon, that's for sure. And we were saying how the great thing is, after that rain that we had, there are a lot of little pools and little wallows. So the animals are able to get water now in a lot more places than they would have been able to before. And even just with a little mud wallow like this, there's a bit of water, and these elephants can spray themselves with the mud, and it helps cool them down and gets rid of probably a lot of the flies and that sitting around them too. Look how that little one's kicking. Isn't that interesting? And it's kicking like that to splash the mud up under its belly and between its legs. It's probably where a lot of flies and sitting and bothering them. There's some more elephant to the back. Just off to the right behind these, you might be able to see them. There we go. A few others there. Look at that little baby in there, right between the mother's legs. I'm so sorry about that, everyone. We seem to be having a lot of technical issues today. I think it's because of this weather. There's a big wind that has picked up, and we might potentially get a storm later. But anyway, we're still sitting with these elephant. They are very relaxed and enjoying this little bit of mud over here. Kathy asked us just before we lost you, Kathy asked, have I ever seen elephants spraying each other? So Kathy, I was thinking, and I haven't. I think, I haven't seen them spraying each other intentionally. I think occasionally when they throw the mud up in the water, and then the other ones could possibly also get a bit of spray. But I've never actually seen them go and pick up mud and throw it onto one another. But I have seen elephant playing in water and in mud before. They're very, very playful. And I've seen them climb into little dams. And that little one's, look at that little one on the left there. Is it lying down? It is indeed. Look at that. Oh my word, isn't that wonderful? Again, sorry, we really are struggling with our signal at the moment in the internet, but we've still got one of these elephants splashing themselves at the waterhole, or at this little mud wallow really. The rest have moved off. There's a young male. He's really enjoying the water and the mud too. Wow, look at that. Look, they'll pick up the mud and the water, and they'll just, with their trunks, and they'll spray it. Look, he's covered in mud now. Off he goes, and now because of this wind that has picked up, I'm sure that is cooling him down quite a bit. Wow, I don't know if you can hear all that wind. Wind's definitely picking up, and there's some serious clouds building behind us. But such a nice sighting with these elephant. As this elephant moves off, looks like he's going to cross the road and follow the rest of the herd. Let's head back to James and get an update from him and see where he is.
We're just off-road, everybody, because we have to turn around this tree. Unfortunately, it's in the road. We've come down Leadwood Road, the same road that we had spent quite a lot of interesting time this morning with some Burchell starlings and a purple roller or two. Just remembered I didn't actually tell you which roller it was this morning. I'm sorry, it was a purple roller. And the tree is just up ahead, and we're on this road only because Viam said, let's do Leadwood Road. And he thought we might find Karula here. Karula is not here, so I'm going to leave him on a buffalo thorn tree fairly shortly. I must apologize for our technical glitches today. I'm not sure what it is, but off to the right-hand side, there is quite a lot of strange sort of goings-on in the atmosphere on account of a burgeoning storm. Perhaps it is the atmospheric conditions that are affecting it. People will tell you, swear blind, that that isn't the case. Now, yes, they're all still here. The purple roller, top left. Those two birds that you saw flying there, bottom right a little bit. Those are the Burchell starlings. I'm just going to roll close, everyone. Oh, I would also very much like, if you wouldn't mind, hashtags for a live question to WildEarth.tv, terms and conditions apply. If you wouldn't mind sending me what migrant bird you would most like to see that you haven't seen yet. That would be lovely to know. I saw a redback shrike this afternoon, and I haven't seen one of those. And obviously most of you will say the woodland kingfisher, but perhaps there are a few others. There's the purple roller. And I think for now he's won the battle of the neighbours, as Liam described it this morning. Oh, and can you hear the wind blowing? I mean, there's a lovely feeling of expectancy in the air, I must say. Especially as the cloud covers the sun, which is really a very good idea indeed. It's not very cool out here. One really does have to reacclimatise to the summer after the perfection of the weather in the winter out here. I met some people yesterday on my way in as we watched that roller doing not much at all, and they are what we call swallows, so they go off during the winter, and they never actually spend any time in the winter at all. They're always in summer. They go off to Cyprus for the winter time, but they come back to Hoedspruit and live around there for the summer. Now, the climate around here, as far as I'm concerned, is idyllic in the winter time and fairly beastly in the summer if it isn't raining. But there's such a lovely air of expectancy at the moment. Gorgeous. Right, let's carry on. We're now going to drive up the Mlwamati drainage and see if perhaps Kurulski hasn't come in there, but I'm not convinced she's going to. Right, Debbie, you're in Vancouver. You say you'd like to see some European bee-eaters. Good. I've heard them. I think I saw one or two before I went on leave about a week ago. So they're around, so we can perhaps see some of those. The carmine bee-eaters will come a little bit later. They are truly gorgeous creatures. Carmine red and pink and purple and blue. And carmine, at least Chris Rogue, you were hoping for the carmines. They'll come a little bit later. Alrighty. Oops. And Byron apparently is also in the Mlwamati drainage. So maybe we'll bump into him and have a battle of wills. Won't that be startling, Liam? It'll be like jousting.
It'll be so easy.
Will it? It'll be easy. Do you think we'll win?
Of course.
Liam says we'll win, of course. Now, James, from this morning, I don't know if you're still watching, but you say you wanted to see a Diedrich's cuckoo. I can hear one calling around here. And I know Byron set out to search one earlier as well. I'm not sure if he managed to find it this morning. There it is. Wimpy, it's on the top of that tree, that scraggly kind of bush. It's the bird on the top. That's it there. I mean, that could be anything, of course. That isn't it, is it? That's the weaver. It's not the Diederik's cuckoo, it is the weaver. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Hang on a second. Just below that, though, just below and to the left. Try there. Sorry, Vim. Down. It's flown. Whatever it was. It wasn't the cuckoo, because I can still hear the cuckoo calling. Now, cuckoos, Diederik's cuckoos, do parasitize those weavers. And in case you are new to us and you're not very familiar with birding, a cuckoo, of course, does not build its own nest. It will use the nest of another and have nothing to do with raising its own children, which, of course, is a dastardly strategy. But that is the way that they have evolved. Very effective strategy. So it's always slightly tainted my enjoyment of the cuckoos. No, it's calling. So there's a little bushbuck. That's quite nice. Laura, you want to know, very good question, whatever happened to the yellow weavers we used to see? I'm just going to try and get you a view of that bushbuck. There we go. There we are. Laura, that was one of them. I think that was probably an example of the village weaver, or the southern masked weaver, probably village. And Laura, the reason we didn't see them last year was because there simply wasn't enough rain. And I don't think half of them bred, you know. This year, I'm hoping, especially as we've had a bit more rain, that they're going to be around, and that certainly was one of them. And around here this morning, we heard their swizzling calls. We should see a few of them. So the yellow weavers we get here, the southern masked weaver and the village weaver. Hello, Bree Bree. Now, we've been attempting to imitate or mimic some birds. I just did the weaver for you, and you are interested in whether or not any of the birds here mock some of the calls of birds that are not of their own species. I don't mock them, but they certainly do a huge amount of imitation. The fork-tailed drongos and the robins and the larks, they do a lot of imitating other birds. Yeah, and some of them do it quite effectively. Some of them, I think, are pretty poor mimics. Right, let's keep going up here, just simply because I think this is round about where we heard the weavers this morning, so maybe we'll get another look at them, and then maybe also the Diederik's cuckoo. There it is. Okay, far right-hand side of this tree there. That's it. It's in there, in the middle there. Okay, I'm going to drive closer, Vimpy. Let's just watch and see if it doesn't fly out. Now, they look black and... There. Yeah, top right. That's it. Up a bit. That's him. That's him. No, that's not him. That is... That's a white-crested helmet shrike. Sorry about that, everybody. So excited. They look black and white like that, the Diederik's cuckoo, unless they're in good light, because they are at iridescent green on the back. That's a pity. I really thought we had him there. Never mind. It's another nice bird. Now, that bushbuck we saw is not that common around here, so quite nice to see that. Yes. Now, as we're driving along here, some of you may have noticed that we have posted a video on, do we still call them videos? Yes, we do. A video on Safari Live about the name of Karula, the great queen of Djuma. And the video basically states, and this is it's an attempt to be, sorry, 1 second. It's an attempt to give due deference to the local people here. And it's a leaf, fantastic yellow leaf, beautiful. What we've done is to just point out that although that's the yellow leaf, although Karula has been described as Karula the peaceful one, the way we've spelt it up until this point, Karula, is not in fact a word at all in Shangaan, and it comes from the fact that when you hear a Shangaan person pronounce it, it sounds a little bit like Karula, but it's actually Kurula, Kurhula. That is the Shangaan word for peaceful. Now, we're not going to change her name because her name has been her name for a long time now, and so we're going to leave it as Karula, but we just felt it was important for us to say that that's not the real Shangaan spelling of the word. Of course, it doesn't change our relationship with Karula, and most importantly, Karula doesn't really care how you spell her name. Sorry, the two doves up there. So if you want to know a bit more about that story, you can check it out on our Facebook page. Marvelous. Also, if you want to ask anything about it, you're more than welcome to. Now watch out here, Wimpy. This tree might catch you. Okay, while we drive around here, let's head across to Byron and get an update from him. We'll hopefully have something large for you when you return.
So we also drove down into the Mawati for a little bit. It's nice and cool. We thought we might find some activity, but then I heard James was coming up too. I just heard some guinea fowl alarm calling. I'm trying to see which direction it came from. We were a little bit far away, so we need to try listen carefully. Can still hear them in the distance. The problem is they're off to our right, quite far into the block, but let's have a good look and just listen. If I have to, I will definitely drive in. Just want to hear, because guinea fowl will often alert you to predators, so this is quite exciting. Let's just listen. Oh, they seem to have stopped, everyone, so I'm not sure. I did see a large bird, as we drove up here, a large bird just quickly fly away. I didn't get a good look at it. It's a possibility that maybe the guinea fowl were alarm calling at the eagle. It looked like an eagle. They will do that if it's a bird of prey. Oh, I don't hear anything else. Anyway, let's just have a look around this area. You never know. Still very, very hot, but you know, animals like leopards, they actually move around quite a bit during the day, more so than we actually think, which is quite interesting. So if you're able to hear any alarm calls around, chances are you might just bump into a leopard somewhere. But it's very thick to get through there. I don't think we'd be able to get through either. But I think possibly those guinea fowl were alarm calling at that eagle that just flew off. I'm not sure what it was. May have been a martial eagle. We did see a martial eagle in this area. Was it yesterday? Yeah, we saw martial eagles. So there's a good possibility that that there may have been a martial that flew off. But like I said, I didn't get a good look at it. Get very excited when you start hearing alarm calls. You think, okay, there's got to be something around. So Rebecca has asked, are there any falcons around yet? Rebecca, I haven't seen any falcons yet. We do get Amur falcons, or they used to be known as eastern red-footed kestrels. They're now called Amur falcons. That's spelled A-M-U-R. Now, interesting with the Amur falcons is they're always in large flocks, so you get to see a lot of them together. We do get them in this area. I haven't seen any yet. Still very, very warm, even though the cloud cover is building. And actually, let's just show you this cloud behind us so you can see how it is changing. Look at the sky. See that big cloud building over there? So maybe we're lucky and we get a storm later, but what often happens is you have storms building like this, and it feels like it wants to rain, and you think, okay, this afternoon we're definitely going to get something, and the next thing it just disappears and it misses us. And the next day the same thing, and it takes sometimes a week for it to build and build and build until we eventually get some rain. But I've spotted something fairly large up ahead. It looks like some buffalo. Let's go have a look. Having a good look through every little drainage line that we drive through, because in the past, in my experience guiding in different areas, leopards love to go and lie down in the drainage lines, especially in the heat of the day. For some reason though, I just haven't had any luck finding leopards. The other guides, Taylor and James, have been very fortunate with their leopard viewing. But I can't complain because we've had a lot of luck with the lions, so really cannot complain at all. This morning was wonderful to find the whole pride, follow them for a while, and then go and watch them rest and lie down. The buffalo, as we know, the favorite food of the lions at the moment. They've been, and not just here, everyone. I've been speaking to some of my friends that guide in this area, and the lions all over the Sabi Sands at the moment have been targeting buffalo. And again, it's because I think they're still weakened slightly from the drought, but pretty soon they'll gain their strength, and I'm sure the buffalo will do very, very well. But it's good. This thins out the herd a little bit. It's survival of the fittest. We need to remember that. All these animals, we need to get, this is nature's way of getting rid of the older buffalo that aren't as healthy, and then you just have these new healthy genes staying within the herd and carrying on, which is good. Look at that red-billed oxpecker. Beautiful birds, often sitting on the animals, picking off the ticks. Excuse me, I need to have a sip of water quickly. It's very hot. It's better. So this is a nice surprise to see these buffalo feeding, and if you have a look just to the left of that buffalo, you can actually see the grass, that the little green grass shoots that have pushed through, and that's what these buffalo are feeding on. So they're getting some food at the moment. Hopefully with a lot more rain, the grass and all the vegetation will recover and start growing again. And the bush will become very lush and thick. Dinger's made an interesting comment and said the road is starting to stand out in contrast to the environment around, and 100% right. You know, about a month ago, Dingo, or not even, I'd say about a month ago, these sand just off the roads, and the roads are all blended in. It looked like just one area, because there was no green grass, there's no grass at all. So 100% right. You can definitely see the contrast, and the road starting to stand out. Oh, this buffalo, you can see, is quite old and is not really in good condition, a little bit thin. But this is interesting. You see that buffalo trying to take the leaves off the trees. Now, buffalo are considered to be grazers. They do not really feed on leaves. However, because of this drought, these animals have needed to browse and get the leaves off trees to get some nutrients and some food. These buffalo are just moving off through the thicket now. You're going to probably lose them soon. So let's continue. Nice to see them. Small group. I don't see many more of them. Just a small group, but often they split off away from the larger herds. But always wonderful to see some buffalo. I think, why don't we carry on? And while I do that, let's get another update from James and see where he is now, if he's out the Mulwati.
We've been past 3 standing pans of water, everybody, and there's been absolutely nothing in them, which I find slightly astonishing. Anyway, our next plan is to go to Buffelshoek Dam. We find no sign nor no track of any kind of leopard around the southern end of the property, so we'll head towards the north and see if there's anything there. There's a spider hunting wasp. Now here's one of the pans that I said we were looking at. Let's just have a quick look and see what has been at this pan. Ooh. I can hear a helicopter. Right, come over here, Liam. We've definitely had some elephants here, which you can't see. But there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of other activity going on, except, I'll just see if I can capture one. There is quite a lot of activity from these wasps that build mud nests, so potter wasps, and they collect mud at these places. And I'm just wondering, no, I thought I might be able to capture one so that I could show you what it looks like, but I'm afraid that too is not possible right now. So we shall hie our way towards Buffelshoek Dam. As I was saying, there's this sort of air of expectancy around the place. I don't think that cloud's going to rain on us, I really don't. But it's very nice to have it in the sky, cooling us down a bit. Ooh, Byron's got a woodpecker. Let's go and quickly have a look.
Still there. I do indeed have a woodpecker, James, but it seems to be hiding from us at the moment. Hang on, let me see if I can't get another view. It's just at the top of this tree. It's just behind there. Hang on, let's just see. It's been jumping around a lot, so let's just wait here, actually. It is a bearded woodpecker, a female bearded woodpecker. There it goes. Oh dear, it's just flown off. A female bearded woodpecker, but they're so tricky to try and show you. So, I mean, they jump around a lot. So, but well, let me show you what it did look like. I've actually got. Let me get my book for you. There we go. All right. And that's the bearded woodpecker, that's the male, and the female is just below over there. That's the female. See, she's got these black markings and a completely black head. And you can see that bit of barring under the belly. And then the male, this is that beautiful yellow back. Also black markings, but he's got the red right on top. So most woodpeckers, if you have a look at the rest of the page, most of these woodpeckers have got some red markings on them. And just hold on, let me just show you the previous page too. Look at all of these. They all look very, very similar. So you do have to be careful when identifying the woodpeckers. But they've all got a slightly reddish head, or that red coloration on top of their head. But it all depends on also where they occur. So the distribution, that's one thing that you need to look at when identifying birds. Have a look to see where they occur and if they do occur in your area. But that was definitely a female bearded woodpecker. Lovely. Unfortunately, just a bit too quick for us to show you. James has asked something regarding the woodpeckers, and James wants to know, why have females in most of the other woodpecker species evolved to have these red markings, and why is it that the sexual dimorphism of those woodpeckers is quite similar and they look quite similar? Good question. It is a good question, and James, I'm not sure. I don't know. You know, generally with bird species, the males tend to be better looking than the females, and it is to attract the females. But I don't know why the woodpeckers, some most of them actually all have these red markings on the head. If we look here again, there's very slight differences between certain males and females. The males will probably have a little bit more red than the females. If you have a look at this Bennett's woodpecker, which is the other, we get the golden-tailed woodpecker in this area. Also, the male has got a bit more red than the female. So I still think, even though the female has got a bit of red, the male still has more red. He does stand out more. He is slightly more colorful than the female, James. So I think possibly it is just the way the woodpeckers have evolved in general, that they all have slightly reddish markings on them. And the males are still a bit more colorful. But if I have a look, this is the only one, the bearded woodpecker, that the female doesn't have any red on the head. So I don't know what the reason would be, other than possibly just identification, for the birds to also identify each other. You know, a lot of similar markings and similar coloration is important for males and females, but the males of most species tend to be a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more colorful. Some birds, some species, it's more so. The males are completely colorful when the females are brown or very dark in color. So it changes with species, changes with different birds. Still driving around and always checking the road for tracks, just to see if anything's walked through during the course of the day. Even though it was so hot, you never know. You can smell some of those buffalo carcasses. They were in this area and they're quite pungent still. The few remains that are around, yeah, still a very strong smell. Anyway, we're going to continue to see what else we can find. Maybe some more birds for you. While I do that, let's get another update from James.
We've just arrived at Buffelshoek Dam, everybody. And we're going to sit in the shade of this torchwood tree. And there is one hippopotamus, one terrapin, and one waterbuck here. There is the terrapin, well, also the hippopotamus, and there is the one waterbuck. And I think we're just going to sit here for a little while, take a deep breath, and enjoy the cooling breeze on our faces. Now, that hippo, of course, is in sort of a much better state than when I left here, on account of the fact that there is some decent water here now. Now, that could indeed well be Bob, the bachelor of Buffelshoek, who used to live here on his own. Look at that, that's quite a nice picture of the waterbuck walking across the little land bridge there. It's like one of those sort of resort pools, yeah.
Hot on one side, cold the other.
Exactly, hot on one side, cold the other. Kiddie's pool on the left. Anyway, this has filled up a lot since I was last here, which was, when was the last time I was here? Well, just over a week ago. And since then it really has filled up quite nicely. There should be lots and lots of terrapins in the water here. There's one there, that is the serrated hinged terrapin, of course. The rest of them must be around. Their heads will be poking up through the water. Interestingly, I think there's been very little in the way of fish around here, and I think it's because the place dried out. And remember, we've said a lot about the fact that catfish like to go under the water, seal themselves up in a sort of slimy nest, if you like, and there they sit until the water comes again. Now, what I think has happened here is that it got so dry and the clay contracted so much that any catfish that there were under the mud, I'm pretty sure they were squashed or crushed. I think the rest were eaten by birds, and I've no doubt that this will eventually be filled with catfish again, but I think it's going to take a lot of birds to come through here from other areas where there are catfish, and perhaps the eggs will be either in their dung or stuck to their legs, and I think that's how this dam will be repopulated with catfish and tilapia. This is, of course, one of the great mysteries of the wilderness, how it is that fish get from one waterhole to another. Now, there are two little terrapins there, sunning themselves, looking nervously towards the western sky. But otherwise all is rather hot and quiet at the moment, and that's why we're all very pleased to be changing the time of our drives on the 1st of November. Remember, we're moving half an hour later to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a little bit of yellow in a rather bleak array of blue and white. Very nice of him. Why doesn't it doesn't actually look like that in real life. Clever cameras we have. Okay, let's go around the side of the dam, over the wall, see if there's anything there. Getting rather distressed with my inability to find anything other than static things in water. And then we will go back to the lines at some stage, everyone, but it's just so hot at the moment, it's almost entirely pointless. You can have another view of the hippos. One hippo. And of course the land bridge separating the hot pond from the cool pond. And that land bridge, of course, will hopefully be underwater. Right, Byron has a nyala bull, the most glorious antelope out here in my opinion. Let's go and find out something about it.
James, would you like to find out something about the nyala bull? Let me just reposition everybody. Hold on a second. He is a magnificent specimen, though. It really is beautiful. Just feeding on some of the leaves there. And there we go. There we go. Look at that. Wow, this is a nice big old bull. And look at that beautiful white chevron between the eyes. And these antelope are browsers. So even though it looks like it's feeding on grass, it's actually feeding on little shrubs. Do you see that? And also the leaves of trees. But this is a really beautiful, beautiful male. Have a look at the different color of the legs. Now, what I find so fascinating about these antelope is how different the females look to the males. The females are almost the same color as the male's legs, and I'll show them to you shortly, but let's just watch this male for a little bit longer, see if he comes out towards us. Just browsing there while he browses some more. I think, let me show you what that female looks like quickly for those of you who haven't seen a female nyala yet. So have a look here. Look how different these nyala females look compared to the male that we can see over here. Reddish brown coloration, very prominent white stripes. So very, very different. And then you have the male with this dark coloration that we can see. It's incredible. Very different sexual dimorphism. A lot of people think that they're two different antelope species because they look so different, but they're not. Hang on, this male seems to be coming quite close here. He might walk, excuse me, there's a lot of flies around at the moment. Here he comes, look here. Isn't that beautiful? Nice and relaxed, walking right past us. And Fran says she loves nyala. They're her favorite antelope. They're one of my favorites too, Fran. They really are beautiful. And they are incredible. Interesting thing, I have seen a male nyala with full female coloration before within the Sabi Sands. So she looked, he looked just like that female, reddish brown coloration, those beautiful white stripes, but this massive set of horns, clearly a male, but just complete female coloration. And I don't know why that is, if he just didn't have enough testosterone. Because what happens when the nyala are young, they're all born and they look the same. They're all that reddish brown coloration. As they get older, the males then start to change, and that grey coloration comes through, and then the coat gets a bit longer, and eventually they're completely grey, just like that male. So perhaps there was maybe not enough testosterone levels to change that nyala, and it grew horns, but it stayed that same color. It was very, very interesting. Something I'd like to show you quickly, which I find fascinating with the nyala, and the males do this wonderful, wonderful display when they're challenging each other for territory and for dominance and for females. So they don't always fight, but what they do is the males, they actually stand almost head to tail, close to each other, or they form a distance of about 2 or 3 meters away from one another, and they walk in a circle around each other like this. But as they're walking, the males often arch their backs and they cause that mane on the back to stand up, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. And stands up, and they lift their necks, and they drop their head, and they do this wonderful slow dance almost. The males walk, and they lift their legs, and they really display, and they arch, and they try and intimidate the other male, and the winner of that is usually the one who then gets to mate with the females. I have seen, however, where these males start doing this, and they're walking around, and all of a sudden they rear up, and then they hit each other and they fight. That doesn't happen very often, because most animals try and avoid confrontation because they don't want to get injured, but antelope and that will fight if they have to. And these males lock horns, and they get very aggressive with each other. It's amazing how powerful that a nyala actually is, but that display where they walk around is really incredible. Perhaps we can get James and I then to do our nyala bull demonstration, and we'll dance around each other and see who's more dominant. I'm sure James would appreciate that. But it really is an incredible display. It's wonderful to watch. Let's keep going and see what else we can find. We're bumping into a lot of different animals at the moment. We saw some zebra earlier. And we saw some buffalo earlier. So the whole time we're driving, we're looking out, and we are bumping into certain animals, especially a lot of antelope. And the sun's hiding behind the clouds at the moment, which is great. Just getting back to the nyala, Pauline has asked, what is the difference, or are the nyala and the kudu in the same family or same group? Are they similar species? So, and what is the difference? So, Pauline, they are indeed in the same group or family, the nyala and the kudu. And the group is known as Trigelaphus or Trigelaphus. That is the scientific name. There is only that name. And what I'll do is I'll show you. So here are the kudu. Now the kudu are much larger. So they've got, obviously they're much taller antelope, very, very big ears. And look at the males. Now you can see the male and female, the coloration is very similar. There's no major sexual dimorphism with these antelope. So they look similar. However, the males have got those beautiful long spiral horns. Can you see that? And the nyala, as we saw, sorry, the wind just blew the page there. With the nyala, as you saw, the females are so different, but the males are much smaller, and those horns aren't as, they don't spiral as much. They do have a slight twist in them. So the nyala and the kudu are in the same family or same group of antelope because they both have these white markings down the body. You saw also the kudu have got white stripes. The males are similar because they've got the spiral horns. And there's another antelope which also joins this group, and that is the bushbuck. Let me show you. This is the bushbuck over here. This is much smaller. This is a male bushbuck. And this is also interesting. The bushbuck, male and female, are slightly different in coloration too. Male gets a little bit darker, female also a reddish-brown coloration. But can you see they also have white markings along the body? They don't have stripes though, but they've got little spots around them. And also small little horns, short horns compared to the kudu and the nyala, but also a slight twist. So these antelope are all in the same family, or not same, yeah, they're in the same family of antelope, Trigelaphus. And this bushbuck is Trigelaphus scriptus, the nyala is Trigelaphus angasii, and the kudu is Trigelaphus strepsiceros. And those are the scientific names. So they are all in the same, well, technically it's the same genus. That is what it is. They are in the same genus. If you look at taxonomy, the naming of animals, there are actually 7 groups. So it starts off kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. And that last genus and species, that's where these antelope, they're all in the same genus, and then just different species. Aaron in New Zealand has asked, is there the same difference in the mountain nyala? Now, Aaron, I've not heard of a mountain nyala unless they occur in Central Africa. I'm trying to think now. Aaron, if you can let me know where about the mountain nyala occur. We definitely don't have them in Southern Africa. It could possibly be North Africa somewhere, but I'm not sure. Let me know where they occur, and I'll try to find out for you. But I don't know. I don't know of the mountain nyala. Something tells me there might be mountain nyala in North Africa. Maybe North Africa or East Africa, I'm not sure. Somebody asked for black-headed oriole, and I've just found one. Hang on. So, it just flew off. It just flew off, everyone. So, I mean, they're so well camouflaged at times. Indiana James has said, yo, myself and James need to do an nyala dance-off, and I think we will. We'll chat to James. Maybe we'll meet somewhere. We'll meet on mutual ground and have a nyala dance-off. I'm much bigger than James, so I don't know if it would be fair. But he's much faster than me, so he'd probably get away from me. Oh, there's a little duiker, everybody. Just want to see if it hasn't run off yet. Hang on, let me try to get you a view. Stay there for us, come on. Oh wait, just through here. You get a nice view. There, look at that. Beautiful little duiker, everyone. A nice male duiker. That's wonderful. It was actually lying down just under a little bush as we came around the corner. It just moved off slowly, but thankfully it stopped. Usually they do run away quite quickly. This one seems very relaxed. They are beautiful antelope. And they are usually solitary. You might find them in pairs, but generally what I've found a lot of the time you see duiker, they are by themselves. You can actually see just in front of the eye that very dark patch around there. That is a pre-orbital gland, and they use that to scent mark territory. And there's some bird calls around us. I've just stopped. Let's see. There was that black-headed oriole that was calling. But it has stopped now. Hang on, there it is again. There's also a grey go-away bird. And now the duiker, the thought behind the name, and the name duiker, it's spelled D-U-I-K-E-R. Some people pronounce it duiker or duiker, and the duiker gets its name from a Dutch word or an Afrikaans word, and duiker means diver, and it's because of the way they run through the bush. When they are running, they run and they leap and they bound through the long grass, and it looks like they're diving. So that's where the name duiker comes from, means diver. Just listening to that black-headed oriole. Let's just see if it calls again. No, it seems to have stopped again. So Aaron in New Zealand, just as I thought, those mountain nyala don't occur down in southern Africa, they occur up in Ethiopia. Thank you for letting me know. So I've never seen them. I've never seen them. I don't know. I've never been up to Ethiopia, and I'm not sure if the sexual dimorphism is the same. I would think that it would be, but I don't know. I've never seen a mountain nyala. Don't know what it looks like. Africa is a massive continent, and we do have a lot of animals on it. And there are still certain species that I've never seen, certain antelope species around Central Africa to North Africa. Try and read up about them as much as possible, but some of them are quite rare and you just don't see them. Alright, we're going to move down towards a little drainage line. It's a bit thicker here, so let's see what we can find. While I do this, let's head to James, see if he's interested for the Nyala challenge and get an update.
I'm not sure that it's really a challenge at all. I mean, I've done the Nyala dance. I feel like I was the pioneer of the Nyala dance, and I don't know that Byron really has any business challenging me to it, but there it is. He has done so. So we will go to a place where I can appropriately do the Nyala dance, especially given the complete and utter absence of any kind of interesting animal that I found for you today. And then we will do it. There are some impala over there, which we will have a look at, because you must stop for impala twice a day. Wait, there's some better ones up ahead, Wimpy. There they are. And we should easily now be able to see that those ladies are about to give birth. Yep. Definitely starting to get a little bit thick around the midriff. Especially the one behind there. You can see the flies driving them as crazy as they drive us. We've also been seeing the odd impala with a whole lot of mange, and one of the other Safari Live stories we're going to be putting out fairly soon is about mange and why it is that there has been no intervention from the Sabi Sand or any other conservation authority around the mange thing. And it pretty much just follows the line of, unless there's been some kind of anthropogenic effect. In other words, if a human disease had been introduced, rather like with Sandile, who we know was taken out of the reserve because a domestic dog gave him rabies, or could have potentially given him rabies, then we did intervene. But out here, and by we I mean the Sabi Sand, I don't mean Safari Live, it's not up to us at all, but we do support the Sabi Sand's sort of non-interference policy when there's a naturally occurring disease, which of course mange is. Let's have a look here again. Hello, Alexandria. You are interested in whether guides have to stay calm when they see an animal. Alexandria, I'm personally of the opinion that when you see an animal and it's upset with you, you should scream very loudly and run away. What do you think, Vim?
I say scream very loud, but don't run away.
But don't run away, okay. Alexandria, I'm being completely facetious, of course. Yes, you do have to absolutely stay calm out here, because if you do not stay calm, you find very quickly that you are unable to think about what's happening out here. So yes, we stay as calm as humanly possible. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult, but most of the time it's possible, and you get used to things. You know, if a buffalo stands up and goes in your general direction, the first time it happens, it's fairly terrifying, and you might let out a little yelp of distress. But the third and fourth and fifth time it happens, you just get used to it. But yes, calm is absolutely of the essence, especially if you're guiding people. And of course, well, I mean, in many ways, I am guiding people right here. You're on the largest safari vehicle in the world, as Hayden Turner used to like to say, and I think that's quite a nice way of putting it. And if I was to start to look panicked and afraid, well, then I'm sure that you would feel that tension. And the idea is that we give you a real, proper sort of feeling of the wilderness. So yes, once or twice, I suppose we might react in a slightly nervous fashion, but we do have to try and stay as calm as possible, especially if you're on foot. Right, we will go around the corner and then we will produce the Nyala dance. We have some new viewers, Shredder, Krupa and Darshana. We would love to know where you're from. Thank you very much for getting hold of us, and thank you for watching us. And you say this is your first game drive, and you're very excited to be with us. Well, you're not as excited as we are to have you with us. So thank you very much for watching, and please do keep watching. And please tell us where you're from. Those names are not ones we're that familiar with. So if you're perhaps watching not from the United States, then let us know, because it'd be lovely to know where you're from. There's an enormous kudu bull. It's Zeus. I'm of course being completely facetious. Every very large kudu bull we see, we say, oh, there's Zeus. Do you think that's Zeus, Wimpy?
Yes, why not?
Why not, indeed. He is an impressive-looking kudu bull, that. Isn't that cool? With the white markings. God, that's really amazing. 1, 2, 3. He's probably almost 7 years old. Oh, that's pretty old for a kudu. Very widely spaced horns. And very long horns. Now, apparently, I say roughly 7 years old. You can apparently tell the age of a kudu from the number of curls it has in its horns. And that one, I reckon's got 1, 2, 3 and a bit. And each year, it gets half a twist in the horn. So every full twist is 2 years. That one's got 3 and a bit, ergo just over 6 years old. Now, for a long time, I used to tell people that the kudu cow lives not as long as the kudu bull. In fact, half the time. Females known to live to around 14 or 15. And the males often not beyond 7 or 8. And that's because of those horns. And it's quite difficult for them to run away from anything with those horns, especially as they're browsers, and so they live in relatively thick bush. I'm not convinced that that's true. I think that they do live for almost as long as the females, but probably they live a little bit less long because A, they kill each other, and B, all of the males out here, and in fact in most mammal species, tend to live less long than the females, including our own species. Right. Yeah, how does this look with regards to a sort of nyala dancing area?
Yeah, it'll work.
I mean, poor VM is not necessarily a fan of the nyala dance. Ooh. Well, Gracie, I think your prayers were answered. You were watching yesterday, and well, probably every day, and you of course saw that buffalo that was stuck in the mud at Cheetah Plains, and you say, did it die? Because you prayed that its pain would be taken away. Gracie, it did die. We went past it this morning. It's dead. It is no longer feeling anything, so you don't need to worry about that at all. Okay. Nice to hear from you again, Gracie. Now, here is my stage for the nyala dance film, next to your favourite trees. You see that? Yes. And VM, what trees are those? The false marula, that is correct. Now let me unplug myself. Louise, if Byron does find something more interesting than me doing a nyala dance, I would suggest that you crash cut to him immediately. Okay. I have to stretch these days, VM. You know, I'm 40 years old. Now, the nyala, of course, likes to posture in order to avoid the concept of physical contact, and in fact most mammals do that to a large extent. And what he does is he walks like this. And I almost have as much hair on my back as a nyala, and so if you will pretend that the hair on my back is standing up, much like the mane of a nyala. What do you think, Viam? 7? 7?
Is that okay? No, that's the best score ever given.
Then they look sideways like this.
We'll make it 8 out.
Thank you very much. Now, one of the disciplines of three-phase eventing, if you're a horseman, it's the dressage like I've just done, then there's the show jumping and the cross-country. What I will challenge Byron to do is attempt what I'm going to over this rather large branch here. I may well kill myself. Are you watching, VM? Do you think I will clear this?
No.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
I'm pretty sure I will. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
I'm now a bit nervous that I'm not going to make it. Let me clear a few things. Okay. Right, the approach is clear. I may or may not make it, everybody. It's going to be a near thing. Reliving my days as a horseman. I think I'm a bit nervous to try it. I now have to try it, everybody. You've got 3 refusals, then you're eliminated. Last attempt. It wasn't very elegant, but we made it. Okay. I saw that thing and I thought, I'm sure I can get over that. And then I got close and I thought, not so sure. Anyway, there we go. I did cheat slightly, I'm afraid. That is true. I'll have to do it again at some stage. I desperately didn't want to end up on my bottom. The last time I did that, I caught my toe on the top and I fell over and hit my head. All right, let's head back across to Byron and get a more biological update from him.
Well, while James is trying to hurdle trees, we're finding animals. There's some more elephant up ahead, everyone. Looks like a baby with them. I noticed James didn't want to meet me for the challenge face to face. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, look, just have a look here quickly, just at this angle. 2 elephant, look, the zebra in the background. Oh, wonderful. You can actually hear some zebra in the distance. I don't think you'd be able to, it's a bit far. And beautiful female Ellie with her little calf. Oh, that is wonderful. I'm surprised to see the 2 of them by themselves though. I wonder if there aren't others. I'm sure there must be some others around, possibly down in through the thicket to the right. I thought I could hear some around here. Just trying to listen carefully. It's a bit windy now, and that's interesting, you know, when it is windy and if you are ever walking in the bush, you have to be a little bit more careful because you might not necessarily hear the branches breaking from animals like elephant or even buffalo. I saw a few other zebra moving through the dense thicket. Just every now and then caught a glimpse of a black and white stripe. Look how close that little one is staying to this mother. And look there, it's suckling. It's actually, or it's trying to, see how it's lifted its head up under the front leg of the female? I think it is suckling there at the moment. The female's mammary glands are situated under the front legs. Do you see that? And in that little calf is busy drinking. That is wonderful. There we go. See how it curled its trunk back and then they use their mouths to suckle. Alex has asked us a question: how long do the elephants live for? Can they live for? So Alex, on average, elephants live for between 50 and 60 years. So it's a long lifespan for these wonderful large beasts that move around the earth, and mainly in Africa. And you get the Indian elephants too, and I have read Indian elephants' lifespan is a bit less. It's about 40 to perhaps 50 years. But African elephants may reach an age of 60, which is incredible. That's really old for an animal. And I'm going to stay with this elephant for a while, but James has a bird of prey that he wants to show you quickly.
It is a Bateleur, everybody. A juvenile Bateleur that is gular fluttering, in other words, panting. Now we know it's a Bateleur because of the way that its wings are crossed at the back there. It's losing its tail as it gets towards adulthood. Look at that. It's got no hair on its... Oh, that's beautiful. It's got no hair on its lower legs. And it's also got that very clear patch of skin around its face, which will, of course, eventually be red. In the adult, I have got a horrible feeling that I've misidentified that bird. No, I haven't. I don't know. I haven't misidentified it. I'll tell you why, and I'll show you a picture of why I thought I might have. This is a beautiful, beautiful bird. Now, you see that line there on the chest. This is often indicative of something like a steppe eagle, at least a steppe buzzard. But the steppe buzzard doesn't have the same colouring on the face. But it does have that very distinctive line. I'm just going to quickly find the steppe buzzard. I'm 99% sure that that is a juvenile. I'm 100% sure that's a juvenile Bateleur. I've just been tricked by my own brain. Yes, it's definitely a juvenile Bateleur. It's nothing like a steppe buzzard. But that line, very distinctive line across the chest, is interesting, because it does not persist into adulthood at all. It is really quite something. The face could be nothing other than a Bateleur's, though. You can also see his crop is full. I don't know if you can see that. That's why, or one of the reasons his chest looks so puffed out. His chest is crop, which is of course a little storage sort of thing below his throat, is full of meat. And I think, Liam, you did say that a buffalo died around here quite recently, didn't you?
A couple of buffalo.
And I think a couple of buffalo. I think he's probably been pecking on the remains of one of those buffalo. Isn't he an impressive fellow? And of course his mum and dad live around here. They have a nest not too far from here. And in fact, before you guys came online with us, we had them around here a little bit earlier on. Very cool. All right, Vumpi, let us continue on our way. Oh, Melinda, let me just stop here. Let's have one last look at him. Melinda, you say, is he a type of eagle? Well, yes he is, and yes he isn't. Oh, and no he isn't. The true eagles, Melinda, are known as those that have hair all the way down to their feet. You can see there that he doesn't have hair. He doesn't have feathers all the way down to his feet. Hair is not the same as feathers. So he does not have feathers all the way down to his feet. And so he is sometimes described as an eagle. He's more closely related to what we call the snake eagles. And they are eagles that are free of feathers on their legs, and they catch snakes. They've got long, featherless legs, and he's more closely related to them. But you could get away with describing him as a Bateleur eagle. But he's not a true eagle, no. There we are. Very nice. It's turning now into a gorgeous afternoon. This is when the light starts to soften and things start to get really pretty out here. I don't think there's going to be any rain. That cloud seems to be sort of dissipating high above us. There's a little bit more fairly heavy grey stuff to this deep south, but I don't think that we're going to get any rain today. Now, his mum and dad were around here a little bit earlier on. We might be lucky enough to see them, or some kind of large animal. So it's been very short on tracks. Ooh. And slowly, oh, you didn't, yes you did. A little bit close, further forward. There's a fork-tailed drongo, everybody. He's right next to the car. He was right next to the car. He's not right next to the car anymore. Well, there he is. You can see all of the birds doing the same thing, and I'm sure Byron probably explained this to you. That is the gular flutter. The beak open, and there's a flap in the throat called the gular flap. And it's flapping up and down in the same way that a dog's tongue flaps in and out when he's panting. It is quite hot today. Okay, let's carry on. Hello, Ivy. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, everybody, last year, Scott, who was one of the presenters, created a birdhouse. He found a log and he dug it out, he hollowed it out, and he made a sort of a cavity. Like, it looked like a very natural cavity, and he was rather hoping a woodland kingfisher would come and live in it. Anyway, he put it up on a tree, and Ivy, I'm afraid nothing did come to live in it. So, no, nothing came to live in Scott's birdhouse, and it was removed, I think, by an elephant, actually knocked off the tree, and it's gone now. So I'm afraid nothing moved into Scott's birdhouse. Well, the light is really turning very pretty indeed now. So we're going to head back towards the west, down towards the drainage again, and then we'll probably head back to the lions and see if they've managed to move more than the odd mussel. I seriously doubt it. Hold on, it's a little bumpy through here. Now, Louisa, while we drive down here, you've asked a very interesting question about invasive species and whether we get any here in the Kruger. There are one or two plant species that are certainly exotic. Would I describe them as invasive? Invasive kind of means that they've come into the area and they're growing uncontrollably. And the answer is no, we don't really have any of those. Do we have exotics? Yes, we do. We have things like lantana, which is a sort of a very attractive pink and orange and yellow flowered plant, aromatic, grows around here. Then in the rivers, because the rivers come from outside the reserve and people grow bits and pieces on the sides of the rivers, we get things like a wild tobacco, which is not indigenous. We get Mexican poppy, which is not indigenous. What have you seen, Gympie? They're gone. There were some dragonflies, everybody. There's also a nyala bull just to the right-hand side. 2 nyala bulls. They look like Byron and I. Except they're not big, mature bulls like Byron and I, are they? Yes, that's me with the longer horns. And Byron is the one behaving in a subordinate manner to the right-hand side. Here we go. Correct. Good. Anyway, so those are the kind of invasive species. We don't get invasive mammals at all. Some people will tell you that nyala never occurred in this area naturally. I think that that's absolute cods. I'm very sure that they did. And some people also will tell you that, of course, the human being never occurred here naturally, so I suppose we might be considered invasive. That also is absolute cods. There have been people in this area for thousands and thousands of years. Nice question, that is a really good discussion point. Now, we're going to drive into the sun, so it's going to be a little bit bright, as you can see. The sun is very bright today. And we'll keep looking for signs of the Great Queen, but I believe that she is still on Little Gowrie, which is to the south of us. And for those of you who are perhaps new to the safari game out here, we can't just drive absolutely anywhere we like. We've got a good-sized traversing area, but we are unbounded by fences, and we cannot go onto all the other properties around us. But the animals can come and go as they please. So Karula, one of our favorite female leopards, she's just to the south of our boundary at the moment with her 2 babies. And so unfortunately, it's unlikely that we'll see her today. Oh, Rob. Now you've asked a question that it could unlock a can of worms, the likes of which you've never imagined. You say, how do we choose the names for the animals? Rob, it's a complicated process, a process that goes through more political wrangling, more discussions, more meetings, more toing and froing than your average sort of, I guess, presidential race might in the United States. That's a kind of topical way to describe it. But basically, the rule is that whoever finds the leopard when they're little gets the honor of naming it. Now, in the case of Karula's 2 youngsters, Shongile and Hosana, that honor went to the senior ranger of Djuma, because they were found on Djuma by Bateleur Smith. And so Taxon and Aubrey chose the names Shongile and Hosana, which mean beautiful and little chief. And that's how they got their names, and that's basically how it's supposed to happen. But there's always a huge amount of argument about what should be the real name, and I know some people don't agree, and then some people don't agree with the manner in which it's done, and then, but how can you name it that when it means this, and how can you know, it's very complicated. The bottom line, of course, is that the leopards couldn't give a flying continental what you call them. But the naming, we have come, I mean, I certainly came from a school of thought, Rob, that believed we shouldn't ever name animals, we shouldn't describe human emotions to them, we should just observe from a sort of scientific standpoint. I've mercifully freed myself of that belief, and certainly Cecil the lion was the clincher for me. Cecil the lion, as you will definitely have heard of course, was a big male lion who was shot by a hunter, a dentist from somewhere in the United States, and he, because he had a name, became so famous. If he'd been known as male 3 of the Hwange Pride 1, so M3HP2, no one would ever have heard of him. But because he was Cecil, he became instantly a world celebrity, as we look at that crested barbet over there. And because he became a world celebrity, suddenly people became aware of the plight of lions. And so in his death, Cecil the lion, and through his name, he has done a massive amount for lion conservation. Now, in the same way, I have been completely convinced that our naming of the animals out here is an entirely positive thing. Yes, it might give some people the impression that the animals here aren't wild. That, of course, is completely untrue, but it does give them the characteristics, and it also allows us to free ourselves from this kind of I think very almost puritanical and very backward thought that animals don't have emotions, when more and more scientific research shows that they do. And so to ascribe human emotions to them, because how else must we ascribe emotions to them? We do not understand leopard emotions, but through trying to impress our own emotions on them. And through doing that, we create these characters, and we learn the different personalities of them, and whether we're right or wrong, and I think probably 90% of the time we're completely wrong about what they think and what they feel, it's still A, great fun, and B, tells the story of the animals, and that in turn provides for their conservation, which is fantastic. So that in a very long and roundabout way goes about the naming of the animals. Now we're going past another bit of standing water here called Chelapan. Hang on a second. Something's fallen. That sounded horribly like my lens cap. Where'd it go, Vim? Vim doesn't know where it went. This is deeply distressing, everybody. Hold on. Ah, there it is. It's okay. We're all right. Whew. Now, we're going to go towards the lions after we've gone to Chilapan. I think Byron is ready to tell us what's going on in his life right now, so let's head across to him and find out.
All got to see them, and we're just in search of anything this afternoon, really. Anything that pops out. We'd like to do some birding, maybe if we do see something interesting. There's another elephant just off to the right, a young one. I think this is quite a big herd that's moved through here. Have a look. We've been fortunate with all the elephant. Let's just carry on going. We've had a great afternoon of elephant. If you think of those ones mud bathing earlier. That's a young one. But definitely part of the herd that we saw earlier, just behind us. No, not too far, probably 100 meters behind us. So very, very close by. So Adrienne wants to know, when do these elephants develop their tusks? Adrienne, from a young age already, you can start seeing tusks, little teeth coming through, or the tusks coming through. I'm trying to think now. I think as young as 3 or 4, I think I've seen little tusks sticking through. Oh, look, everybody, there's some water ahead. They're drinking. Hold on. They were drinking. There was one drinking. Let's see, maybe it comes back. Just going to position a little bit away. Maybe just hear a helicopter flying over us, and that's just it was the Kruger National Park helicopter. I just had a look at it. It was a Kruger National Park helicopter. Occasionally these helicopters do anti-poaching in the areas. They just patrol and make sure that there's no trouble being caused in the game reserves. So they do patrol and fly over occasionally. Look at that. So nice to watch them drinking. Hang on a second, I'd just like to move to get this aerial out the way for you. How's that, Dave? A bit better? There we go. There we go. Sorry, I just saw that in the picture now. See, also picking up mud and splashing itself, trying to cool down, get rid of some of the flies and that probably around that elephant. Oh, it's amazing. Isn't that wonderful? I said a bit earlier, I'm a bit jealous because it's so hot. I wouldn't mind jumping in that mud wallow and just laying there for a bit. It's probably not very clean though. I think they must have had buffalo, elephant, probably rhino too, all coming through and wallowing, and so there's it's probably not very clean. They just about soak themselves. So Adrian, just again with your question, I think about 3 to 4 years old, you might start seeing little signs of tusks coming through. Then a little bit older, 6, 7, you really do start seeing these little tusks just protruding out of the mouth. Look at the toes. You can see the toes of the elephant, the nails. So the toenails on the feet. Even though it doesn't look like they have got toes, but they do indeed. So Gail in Florida would like to know how long do the young elephant calves nurse and stay with their mothers. So Gail, I've seen young elephant between the ages of 5 and 7, even up to 7 or 8, still try and nurse from the females. But generally, from about 3 or 4 years old, they do stop. So it all depends, but I have seen youngsters still try their luck and still try to get milk from the females when they're a little bit older. And then those calves will just stay within the herd. They'll grow up and stay within the herd unless they are young males. Then when they get a bit older, they'll probably move out, perhaps find a big dominant bull, and they'll often shadow them. And what happens is these big dominant males teach these young bulls how to be successful, how to find females and what to do when they find the females. So often you'll get big old bulls with 1 or 2 what we call askaris, and those askaris it was actually, I think it's an East African term for Maasai warriors, if I'm not mistaken, that would protect the chief. And I think the name was given to the elephant too, these young bulls that would walk around with the old dominant bull, the wise bull, and they basically protect him in a sense. Listen, did you hear that, everybody? There was just a low frequency vocalization from these elephant. That's how they communicate. It sounds like a stomach rumble, but it's not. It is a vocalization. That's wonderful. So as I was saying, these younger bulls stick with the big old bulls, and they become these. Oh, listen to that. That was incredible. Do you hear that? And that was the younger one off to the right here behind the bush. And I think all that it did there is trying to find out where the rest of the herd is. Just turn around, because the rest of the herd is still behind us. I'm just going to keep quiet a little bit because it seems to be calling regularly. Let's listen. Did you hear that? Again, another call. Here's another one. Come say hello. Hear that? Isn't that wonderful, everyone? That is so fantastic. They really are calling beautifully for us at the moment. That is great. That's what I said. I'm not going to speak too much because this is so wonderful to hear, especially for them to call regularly like this. And I do think this elephant is just trying to find out where the rest of the herd is and why they're taking so long. Wow, isn't that amazing? That was a nice loud one again. Oh, I think they're done now. That one's just stopped to urinate. I'm just looking around, and at the moment the rain seems to be staying away from us. Another call, wow. There are some clouds in the sky, but they don't look like it's going to rain anytime soon. This young female is very vocal at the moment. It's wonderful. Wasn't that great? That really is lovely. Probably going to move on, and we'll leave these elephant. They've put on a wonderful show for us. So nice to hear that sound. Really is incredible. James has got something very tall that he would like to show you.
That ain't tall, everybody. That's the slender mongoose that VM told me we would get. I said, don't be ridiculous. We'll never get this thing. It's much too small. And there it is. Look at it. It's completely relaxed now. Go ahead, F. I'm just talking to Ephraim quickly on the game, right? He's giving us a space at the lions. Go ahead. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that cool, everybody? That's the slender mongoose. And we very, very seldom see like that. It's the second one that Via has seen today. And just like your dog or your cat lies on the cool sand on a hot day, that's exactly what that mongoose is doing. Liam, you must be so pleased with yourself at this stage. I said to him, you'll never be able to see that thing again. It's going to run away. Don't worry about it. Let's do the giraffe. He said, I don't like giraffe. Let's do this one. So we did the slender mongoose, and he has been vindicated completely. How cool is that? We never, ever see slender mongoose like this. Now, there's another vehicle coming, so I think it's probably going to run away. They live in pairs or singly on their own like this. You can see another vehicle coming behind. He's not sure if it's seen him yet. And that long tail, we think, is some kind of a predator sort of aversion tactic. Because what happens is when the mongoose runs, it sticks its tail over the top of its back, and if a predatory bird comes flying over to try and grab it, it'll just flick the tail back, which of course is much quicker than trying to sort of dive under a bush or dive to the ground. You can't really see another reason to have such a long tail. That is so cool. Viam, well done. You get 155 points for this. Hello, Kim. Kim, you ask the question, can slender mongoose get fat? Now, I think that you were probably being rather amusing. That's Tim, not Kim. Tim, the answer is no, they can't. Quite seriously, and they can't because they are banters, basically. They eat a banting diet or a paleo diet. They eat no sugar or carbohydrates. It's all sort of fatty insects, the odd snake and lizard and that sort of thing. It is not possible for their bodies to create fat out of their diets, or it's very difficult. And so, no, they cannot be fat, but that goes for all the mongoose, not just the slender ones. Right. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good at all. Let's go back to the lions. They're just down here. Let's head down to the lions. Not far from where we are right now. And then we will see if they manage to get up and do something in the next 45 minutes or so. I think that's about the length of time we have left. Yeah, just a bit longer than that. Hello, lovely question from someone called Kiwawa. I will answer your question shortly, Kiwawa. I just want to say hello to Ephraim. Minjan Bab. Guys on go. That's just Ephraim saying it's hot. And I said yes, it's very hot. Kiwawa, are we ever afraid of breaking down in the bush? Yes, we are. Do we ever do it? Yes, regularly. Are we nervous when it happens? No, not really. We're not very far from home ever. People can come and help us. We've got radios to tell people where we are. In the middle of the day, if it gets desperate enough, you can just walk home. Obviously, if you're careful and you're trained well enough, but we have quite a lot of experience out here, and so we'd normally be completely okay. Were we to sort of have to walk home during the night, it'd be a bit different. You'd spend the night in the car if you couldn't get help, but you'd be probably okay in the car. Right, the lions have come out slightly from their hiding place. One or two cubs are up. Sorry about that, everybody. That was me knocking the aerial over. Right, we're going to stop here. There we go. That little lion, a bit of a fright, but not a dreadful fright, just a little one. Sweet little lion. Now, for those of you who are perhaps a little bit confused about this mange story, let me tell you a bit about it. There are two main prides in our traversing area. The Nkuhuma pride, which is this pride, consisting of 5 lionesses and 8 little cubs. And then in the south, towards Cheetah Plains, we see the Styx pride sometimes, 3 lionesses. They too had 8 little cubs. All 8 of their cubs are now, unfortunately, passed on. They are no longer with us, and that is because of mange. Now, mange is a disease caused by a mite. Well, it's the same thing that humans call scabies. So it's a skin disease caused by a mite. And all of them we think they caught it from one of the females. She, in turn, we think, caught it from one of the Birmingham boys, who are the dominant male lions of this area. Now, there's a huge amount of worry that these lions might suffer the same fate. So far, only one of them has it, and it's on his ears. And it doesn't seem to be spreading. It might spread a bit, but I think what you're going to find is that the Nkuhuma pride, there are a whole lot of... Diedrich's cuckoos just flew over the top of us. I think what you're going to find is that these lions are fine, and the reason for that is that they're eating well, and they are not compromised. They're not under stress. They've eaten huge amounts during the drought, and certainly the youngsters seem to drink a huge amount of milk. And so I think you're going to find that these chaps are absolutely fine. And I think it's a little bit like any other disease. If you are hungry and not well nourished, then a disease will take hold in your body. But if you are well nourished, normally it's absolutely fine. You hear the cricket starting to go now. Hello, Daniel. A very valid question as we look at this little lion. You say, when do lions start growing manes? Daniel, they'll start to grow manes normally at about a year old. You can tell whether a male or female is a male or female just by looking at its eyes. Not as its eyes, at its face. You can see then that the mane starts to sort of form, if you like. Oh, it's just such a lovely sound. You can hear the sound of the oxpeckers. But then that is some kind of species of cricket, and probably also actually a species of cicada actually. There we go, a little bit of movement now. Right, let's move a little bit forward now that that one's gone behind there. We can move slightly forward. There we go. There was a male in here as well, I think, this morning. Oh, there he is. He's right there, actually. Oh, and it is our friend Nkuhuma, the authority. We know that, of course, because he has a giant hole in his face. Yeah, that's not ideal, is it? You may have noticed, of course, that the light has dropped, and that is because this cloud is coming in from the south, so maybe we'll get a bit of rain. Now, we have talked a little bit about the fact that the lionesses are running out of milk. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, I mean, it is certainly happening for some of the older ones, which must be now... How old are the oldest ones? Well, they can't be much more than 5 months old by now, I think. So there should still be quite a lot of milk left in these lionesses, especially for the youngest ones, which are probably only 3 months old now. They're all eating meat at the moment, but they will all still be supplementing their diets with milk. They wean completely at about 6 months old. And I'm glad that you all seem to be thrilled to see these lions. I too am thrilled. I haven't seen them for some time. They're not in the easiest place, of course. We can't get a view of all of them. And that guy's nose doesn't seem to be healing with a great speed, does it, Liam?
It looks better.
You think it looks better? Okay, well, Liam says it looks better. That's good. And for those of you who are perhaps new to us, the names of our Birmingham boys are Tino, the one with the tooth. He's easy to see because his bottom lip has a scar, and so you can see his tooth. Nkuhuma, this one called the Authority. The other two are, can I remember the names of the other two? The one is Nsuku, who is Blondie. That means, well, he was called Blondie. That means yellow, I think. Does it mean yellow? My mind has gone completely addled in the heat of the summer's day. So Nkuhuma, Tino, Nsuku, and the warrior. And the warrior's name is, wait, it'll come to me. Oh, Nana, that's it, right, Nana. Okay, so the warrior and Nsuku slightly harder to tell apart because they don't have such very obvious features as this. Now, we had a question about whether or not lions snore, and the answer is yes, they do snore. Absolutely. They don't always snore, but they can snore. So, Helen, your answer is yes, you don't want to be sleeping next door to a lion because A, it will probably try and eat you, and B, it will keep you awake with its snoring. These ones are not snoring all the time, though. The animal, interestingly, that snores the most out here is a rhino. Rhinos snore an enormous amount, and in fact, if you're tracking them on a hot day, it's one of the things you listen out for, because often they'll settle down and sleep either in the shade, or they'll go into a sort of a pan or some mud and water, and there they'll sleep and they'll snore away. These chaps are being very silent about their sleep, though. They are doing a lot of sleeping. Now, this, of course, is one of the main reasons that we are changing times to the later summer times, which will be on the 1st of November. And that's just because it'll give us an extra half an hour for them to actually get up and do something. At the moment, as we go into the summer, it's so hot right now. And we've only got 40 minutes left of drive or so. And because of that, I mean, it's unlikely that these lions are going to do too much before 7 o'clock this evening, actually. Oh, there we go. We got a bit of a look there from the male. High action here. Hello, Elizabeth. I suppose this is something we don't really discuss a huge amount. How large is a lion's territory? Well, Elizabeth, it very much depends on the area you're in. In this particular area, the lionesses have a pride. Oh, here comes a lioness. There's high action here, VM. My goodness. I don't know where to look. She's going to lie down again and sleep. She's just going to go and reaffirm her bonds with the male. Oh, that's quite sweet, isn't it? Lions are very affectionate with each other if they're not feeding. And if they're feeding, they really don't like each other very much at all. Okay, the action has died down. Now, the lion territory, these lions, the Nkuhuma pride, has a territory of roughly 10,000 acres. So that in hectares is about 2.5. I used to be able to do this entirely by memory. It's about 4,000 hectares or so. Yeah, that's right. 4,000 hectares, 10,000 acres, roughly the size of the Nkuhuma pride territory. The male's territory, the Birmingham boys' territory, 2.5 to 3 times that size. They definitely cover about 3 pride territories, but spend most of their time with this pride and with the sticks. And so their pride, their territory, remember they're not part of the pride, they're part of a coalition which dominates a number of prides, and their territory is probably about 30,000 acres in extent. And she's just giving herself a clean, like all cats must, of course. Oh, you can just hear all of the insects now calling. I wonder if it's not going to rain. Hello, Girl of Fire. Now, of course, we've given all the Birmingham boys names, and you want to know why on earth we don't give the females names. Well, that's a really nice shot of the claws, if they come sticking out. There are a few reasons. The first is that the whole pride normally gets a name, so we don't normally name the individuals in a pride, often because they're actually quite difficult to tell apart. These ones, if you look at them for long enough, you can actually tell them apart. One of them's got amber eyes. One of them is noticeably younger than the others. The other 3 you could probably tell apart, one by the length of its face, one by the fact that it's noticeably older than the others, and so you could probably give them names. The convention generally, though, is that we give the pride a name, and then if there's anything obviously distinctive about one of the pride members, like Amber Eyes, for example, we call her by name, then we'll call them by that name. Which, interestingly, there's no real reason why we shouldn't give them names, other than the fact that they're not that easy to identify. Anybody who's ever owned a house cat cannot but fail to notice, of course, that this is the same kind of animal entirely. That's so sweet. She's trying to catch one of the flies. I think also there are a whole lot of little dragonflies that VM spotted earlier knocking about here. And there's the pink nose. You can see that's the younger one, or one of the younger ones. And absolutely, Natalie, I must agree with you. I think your postulation all the way from California is a good one. You say, will the older cubs nurse for longer, given that there are younger cubs and therefore there will be a lactating female, for longer than past their 6-month birthday. Can you have a 6-month birthday? I don't think you can, but you know what I mean. Natalie, I think they will probably do a little bit more suckling, because of course they do cross-suckle, so they don't always suckle from their own mothers. Now that's the youngest lioness there. We know that from her very pink nose and the fact that she doesn't have babies. Well, she's not actually substantially younger than the one who we were looking at earlier. And so, yeah, I mean, that's one of the major reasons we don't give these cats names. But that's not to say you can't give them names if you'd like to. Beautiful. They're all peacefully asleep again. I think we'll sit here for another 5 or 10 minutes, and if they do not wake up and do something useful by then, we'll probably head off and see what we can see. In the meantime, Byron has found a primate other than himself. Let's go and, well, I'm not sure he qualifies as a primate actually. Let's go and have a look.
Where is he gone? A few of them, but oh, they've disappeared. No, wait, he's still there. You might get him. Those lower branches there, he's jumping up. David, can you see him? There, you got him. There we go. And that is a male. It looks like he is in the prime of mating time for the monkeys. He's got very bright blue genitalia, and that's to attract a female. He's just hiding from us there at the moment. And this is the vervet monkey, V-E-R-V-E-T, vervet, or vervet monkey, the vervet monkeys. And there were at least 2 or 3 others that ran in there, but as you can see, it's very thick. You can hardly make out where that monkey's sitting. Isn't that amazing? Just hiding in the tree. Dave just thought he saw something there. I think there's a bit of a breeze, so some of these branches, David, it looked like you moved higher up now. Hang on, let me just move back for you quickly. Let's see. I know a lot of our viewers really enjoy seeing the monkeys, especially these cheeky little vervet monkeys. And I know from working in the lodges, and why I say they're cheeky is because a number of breakfast tables have been raided by the vervet monkeys. They are so clever, it's incredible. You look away for a split second and they'll jump up onto the deck and come and grab a croissant or a muffin or the sugar pot, anything like that, and off they go. Or a piece of fruit. They're amazing, amazing animals. Very, very intelligent, very intelligent. So, but they are very naughty and mischievous. Obviously not like me at all. Let's see, there's some quite a bit of cloud cover that started to form to our right. You might have a look at it, just see how dark those clouds are, and they've been forming all afternoon, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain. I was speaking about it earlier, that it threatens regularly in the afternoons because of these hot days. Get this cloud cover forming, and then all of a sudden it just disappears and misses us completely. No rain, and the next day the same happens, and then eventually if we're lucky, it starts to raining and we get a lovely big storm. Kathy would like to know, what do the vervet monkeys eat? So Kathy, they'll feed on a number of things, from maybe even little insects to predominantly fruit and seeds that they'll find. That's generally what the vervet monkeys feed on. Little bulbs perhaps that they can dig up, little insects, and a lot of fruit that they find, and berries and that type of stuff. That's what the vervet monkeys will eat. Baboons, which are the other primates we get around here, they'll feed on just about anything, from insects all the way to young impala lambs. I've seen baboons catch impala lambs where they eat the meat, 100% omnivorous. They'll eat just about anything. They'll also feed on leaves of trees and different vegetation and shoots and grass roots that they're able to find. Anything that's got a bit of flavor and nutrition they'll eat. So they do eat just about anything. And interestingly enough, that if you ever stuck out in the bush and you're looking for food, if you find a troop of vervet monkeys and they're feeding on berries off of a bush, you can go and eat those berries. But if you find baboons and they're eating off berries from a tree or a bush, it's not necessarily safe to go and eat them, because baboons will feed on just about anything, but vervet monkeys will only feed on berries that are not poisonous. So if you do find yourself hiding in the bush, if you find yourself stuck in the bush and you're looking for something to eat, you can eat what the vervet monkeys eat, but not everything the baboons eat. So that is very interesting. Our beard would like to know if we can get monkey insurance. I don't think so. I think the insurance companies would laugh at you. It's still very, very hot, everybody. Very warm, very muggy. And the air is thick while we're driving around. We do need some more rain. Some rain would really cool things down. It would be wonderful. Driving around now, still just scanning for any animal activity. You never know what could pop out in front of us. I'm still in search of finding a leopard. I've had no luck over the last week. I've only seen one leopard since I got back here. But the other presenters seem to have had all the luck with leopards. But we've had a lot of luck with, or I've had a lot of luck with the lions. And speaking of lions, James is sitting with them at the moment.
Well, we have a little bit of action here, everybody. There seems to be some kind of, action. The male has got up. He's been testing whether that young lioness wishes to mate with him by smelling. Now, she's been doing that for some time, actually. It's not the first time. And I don't know if you can also see how much darker it's got suddenly. This is not because the sun has disappeared. It's because of the cloud coming over. There's really quite nice yellow light formed over the place. Ooh, they've got quite an intimate little scene going on here. Not in the sort of most intimate way. Let me just move back a little bit. No, she's not interested in him at all. I'm going to move a little bit forward. She's not interested in the slightest. I suspect he's been doing that all day, moving up towards her, testing if she's ready to mate, lying down next to her as if to say, let's chat. And she says, to hell with that, gets up and walks away and goes to join her friends. It really is. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about the attaching emotions to animals and that sort of thing, and attaching sort of human qualities. You can see this happening in human society. You can see a sort of young man going up to a group of girls and sort of trying his luck with one of them, and her just sort of showing absolutely zero interest at all, even if she is vaguely interested, and then walking back to her mates. And I mean, I see that with these, you see that with elephants, you see it with baboons and monkeys, and to call that anthropomorphization, I suppose, is true, but gosh, I don't think we can be too far wrong with things like that. With that little cub, completely blissful. The heat's gone, it's a nice cool breeze on my belly, mum's nearby, I'm full of milk and good food. Life couldn't be better here in the Lowveld Kruger summer. And of course, As we've said many times, the predators have had a wonderful time in the drought. Hello, Debbie, and the answer is yes, absolutely, completely. You say, will the mange go away if the lions stay healthy? Yes, absolutely, Debbie, and we know that because mange are a little bit like chicken pox. Or measles or mumps or something like that, you cannot get twice. So they do develop an immunity to it, and it will go away. If they manage to recover from it once, they will get away from it, and it won't affect them again. But you can see it has not spread to any but one of the cubs, and it's possible that that cub just had a little bit less food. It's possible that it's genetically inferior. And one of the great, or not the great things, if you want to put a positive spin on what happened to the Styx cubs, you might say, well, that's natural selection at work. They didn't have the genetic ability to fight off the parasites, and maybe that's why they died, and maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you don't want those genes passed on to another generation. And the opposite could be said perhaps for the Nkuhumas. Now that foot, everyone, is about the same as a sort of average-sized man's hand, which is about my size hand, I suppose, bar the last digits, at least the last joint on the digits. So the first 2 digits of the fingers, and that's how big that is. So that's a pretty big hand. And the male, you'd include the digits. As you can see, she's very satisfied here. I must confess the atmosphere right now is just electrically wonderful. Well, it's not electric, it's expectant. It doesn't feel sort of tense at all, but it does feel just gorgeous with the grey cloud coming in from the south, sun setting, the heat dissipating, a little breeze blowing through. I think the lions pick that up in the same way that we do. Anyway, the reason we stayed here, of course, was because there was that little bit of action. I think we'll do another sit for a little bit longer, and then we might move on. Hello, R. Beard. Do you want to know if you can inoculate against mange? No, I don't think you can. What you can do is you can treat it. I mean, you can bathe the animals and you can treat them. I think you treat it symptomatically pretty much. But it's very difficult, of course, in a wild lion population. And this is a wild lion, so we're not going to try and do it here. I think were the Southern African lion, if the Southern African lion was endangered, I think you'd find that then there might be an attempt to step in. But it isn't, and the Kruger Park has a very safe and stable lion population, and those cubs that have died will almost certainly be replaced. In fact, they have almost been replaced. One of the lionesses has given birth already. So I think you'll find that although it's delayed the growth of that pride by some time, it won't do it permanently. And so while we quite understand the very strong feelings that some people have towards trying to help animals, and it isn't, of course, a credit to people when they feel the suffering of animals themselves. I mean, it's a great credit to human beings that we do feel that, but sometimes it's just better to let nature take its course, and certainly my experience in the Kruger Park indicates that almost always when we get involved, Sindile being a noticeable exception, when we do get involved, then when we get involved, it normally ends in some kind of tragedy. Hang on a second, you're not going to be able to see this, but there's another lioness through the bushes there, and I suspect she's with all the other cubs. All I can see is many bundles of fur through the bushes. Can you see them there, Vim? There we go. No. They're sort of through there. Anyway, they're there, everybody. The rest of the pride is lurking in the bush where we can't get to them. Let's have one last look here, and then I think we're going to press on, see what else we can see for the last few minutes of the drive. Well, Mind Warp, you want to know what the odds are for another buffalo kill before the sunrise drive. Mind Warp, I'd say excellent, because, of course, these lions have knocked off something ridiculous like 30 buffalo in the last 40 days, plus minus. It's astounding. So they do look pretty hungry to me. You remember, it's kind of difficult to tell if a lion, or how hungry a lion is, because they get thin as soon as they've digested. And so although they're not full, I don't think they're feeling hungry, and that's evidenced by how few of the buffalo they've actually eaten to completion. So I think it's well possible that they could kill another buffalo. If one comes around here, they'll almost certainly nail it. And of course, they've got more and more experience at killing buffalo. And so I think as the summer progresses and the buffalo gets stronger, they'll probably still keep to hunting buffalo with all these hungry mouths to feed. Alrighty, we're going to head out of here, everybody. These chaps ain't going to do nothing for the next little while. We'll go and see if we can't spot something else exciting before the end of the drive. While we do that, let's see if Byron, the primate, has managed to find a leopard.
James, if you call me a primate once more, we're going to have some serious problems. But I haven't found a leopard, but I have found a beautiful sky that I'd like to show you. Look at this, everybody. Look at that. Yeah, we can hear ground hornbills in the distance. Let's see if you can hear them. Very faint, but you might be able to hear them. Very soft. So some ground hornbills calling in the distance, but look at that beautiful sky. Isn't that incredible? It's wonderful when you've got some cloud cover with the sunset. And you really do get to appreciate these wonderful colors, all these colors, this pink, purple, yellow, blue, gray, just wonderful, wonderful colors in the sky. It really is beautiful. So let's see what we can find. We're also going to carry on driving around. It is still very, very hot, everybody, and I think that's probably going to affect a lot of the movement of animals. I know James left those lions because they were still resting. It's still very, very hot, and if I was the lion, I wouldn't be moving around either. Sorry everyone, just hang on a second. Let me just jump off here quickly, everyone. Sorry, I just saw something. Just want to pick it up. It looks like a piece of rubbish, possibly just flown off a vehicle. Yeah, it has indeed. We don't want litter around here, do we? I'll throw that away later. So Dana's asked if I can do a guinea fowl impression. Yeah, guinea fowl. Guinea fowl. How's a guinea fowl go again? It sounds like almost like a broken bicycle pump. Something like that, I think. That would be my attempt at a guinea fowl call. Dana, thank you very much for that. So nice to have that request. Oh dear. Sure, let's maybe quickly have a look at Sydney's dam. We're not far from that. Kathy wants to know what words of wisdom would I give younger viewers who would like to be safari guides when they grow up. And I think Kathy, the best bit of advice I can give is enjoy what you do, and make an effort to learn as much as possible about nature. One thing though, and one thing you need to remember, is you are never going to know everything about nature. And nature changes constantly, and even though I've been guiding for many, many years, I definitely don't know everything, and I'm still constantly learning. Never have an ego about working in the bush, because I think nature will very quickly put that in check. So always be humble, always try and understand nature, be respectful of the animals. I do believe that's very, very important. And then try to learn as much as possible. And then when you are out, enjoy it. Enjoy every moment, even from the impala, which we see all the time. I just need to scan quickly and just want to see what we've got here. And we've got some buffalo at Sydney's dam, everyone. So Kathy, I think those would probably be my words of wisdom, or a bit of advice for younger viewers, and try and get out to Africa if you do want to become a guide one day or work in the bush. You obviously learn a lot more if you are here and you are seeing and hearing everything for yourself. These buffalo seem to be moving away from the waterhole. I think we're going to do the same. So let's head back to James and get another update from him.
There is Wiem's very favourite animal in all the world. Giraffe, giraffe, giraffe. AKA the southern giraffe. And he is taking a very leisurely feed as the sun has set and a large cloud comes in from the south to promise moisture that it almost certainly won't deliver to us. Just look at the sky and how beautiful it is. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh. That's why it's really not such a trial coming back to work, everybody, when I have that to show you. And by that I mean it's not a trial at all coming back to work. Very, very peaceful indeed. Righty, for the last few minutes let's head up onto quarantine clearings, see what's happening up there as the darkness starts to fall. I haven't found hide nor hair of a leopard today, I'm afraid. Well, we did on Mala, not Mala, we didn't drive there. On Cheetah Plains earlier today, but it went into Mala, and we did not follow it, did we, Wiem? No. So we'll just head up top here and see what's happening in the darkness. I suppose I might put on some lights. Hello, Cindy in Florida. It is, of course, coming up on the 31st of October, which in the States is a huge event, Halloween. We don't really do much for Halloween in this part of the world. You want to know what I'm going to be? I think I'm probably going to be a safari guide on Halloween, but I might try and find something slightly more original, more ghoulish, more sort of macabre. Maybe I'll attach one of the skulls in the tent to my person. Wiem, I remember your costume from last year. Do you remember what you did?
Yeah.
What did you do, Wiem?
Marula Man.
Yes, you did the Marula Man. Marula Man, everybody, it was Wiem, and he gaffer taped he gaffer taped a whole lot of twigs to his hands, and he'd put them in front of the lens every so often, and he looked he looked dreadful. He looked very scary indeed. It was like being the mixture of Struvel Peter, who was a children's book favourite, well, not much of a favourite, and Worsel Gummidge. He looked like a sort of terrifying scarecrow. Oh, that's right. I went as a guarri bush last year. Thank you very much for that. I gaffer taped a guarri bush to my person. That was my costume. I think I've been to every single party that I've had to dress up for. I've gone as a pirate. I find that the easiest, to make a sort of ridiculous looking bird, either out of some balls of paper, or to strap a chicken carcass to my shoulder, paint on a beard, and then you go and talk in a strange accent, and people realize immediately that you're supposed to be a pirate. I don't think I'm going to strap a chicken carcass to my shoulder for the drive, although, I mean, that might be quite amusing. Not much going on up here on quarantine clearings. I was rather hoping Tingana might step across the place and show himself to us while he hunts for some impala. But we were going to have to start bringing out the spotlight, of course, come the 1st of November, when the times change. Just to remind you again, times will change. Sunrise safari, 5 to 8 in the morning, Central African time. Sunset safari, we have got from 4 to 7 Central African time. And you can work out what time that is in your part of the world. Hello, Donovan. You are but 9 years old, and it's lovely to hear from you. You want to know if my sister enjoyed herself here for my birthday in the Sabi Sand. She didn't come to the Sabi Sand, I'm afraid, Donovan. She did visit us, though, down the Eastern Cape, which is where my parents live, and she loves coming out here because Africa is her home, and it's in her blood, like it's in my blood, and like it's in much of the blood that courses through the veins of our Safari Live viewers. So, Donovan, yes, she loved being out back in Africa, and I hope that you, too, will come out here one day. That's going to be it from Viam and I today. Thank you, Viam. Well done. You survived through the heat, and so did all of you, and thank you for talking to us through the course of the afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow at 05:30. I think I'll be with Taylor McCurdy then. Until then, stay safe and happy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
It's so funny. I was going to say that when you asked James what he's going to be for Halloween, and he said a safari guide, I was going to say, well, he can go as himself because that's probably scary enough. I don't know what I would go as. James kind of took my idea of a pirate. I do like pirates. Otherwise, Rambo. I thought Rambo might be pretty cool. Dave, what do you think? Would you go as? Or a rabid hyena. Rabid hyena, there we go. That sounds like a great Halloween costume. Just trying to scan around and see what else we can find. I noticed some of the Twitter comments and that people are asking how long I'm still going to be around for and guiding here. So I'm still around for 10 days or so. So sorry everyone, you stuck with me for a little bit longer. So I think some were worried that they missed my last drive, but I am still around for quite some time, for another 10 days. Then I'm away for a week and then back again for another 2 weeks or so, just before the middle of December. So I'm looking forward to that again, but still quite a long stint ahead. So looking forward to finding you more animals and chatting to all of you. Oh, come on, I'm trying to find a chameleon, everyone. We've been wondering when we're going to see the first chameleon of the season, but no luck just yet. And It is still very, very warm though. I do think we need a bit more rain for some of those other little reptiles to get active and come out. We need more insects. Oh, there's a little squirrel that just ran down. It's gone, unfortunately. It was sitting in the tree, probably sleeps in that tree, that dead tree, that dead knobthorn. Can't see, and I'm trying to also see if we can't find any owls perhaps. I'd love to see a spotted eagle owl or a giant eagle owl out in the open in the evening. That would be really great. Anyway, it's almost time to end. Dave, thank you very much for joining us on camera, and thank you to Lou and Kirst in the FC and the voices in my head. It's lovely having their voices read us the questions. Thank you to all the viewers again for a wonderful afternoon, for all the comments, the questions. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and tomorrow morning James and Taylor will take you out on safari. I'm getting a morning rest. Have a wonderful evening or day wherever you are. Thank you everybody. Good night and goodbye.